I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, and today we are interviewing Harry Rundall and hearing about his experience as a ham operator. He is AC3EK, and we're going to jump in and see how this works. Okay, this is Harry, and where do you live now?
I live in Middle River, Maryland, which is along the Middle River, northeast of Baltimore,
Uh-huh.
and the east part of Baltimore County, near Martin's Airport, Martin's Airfield. If you recall, that's famous for building the Martin seaplane. They build some B-24s. They have a squadron of A-10s right now with the Air National Guard that occasionally fly over. And they're also a great noise source, which I pick up if my antenna, the Yagi, is pointing in their direction. Oh joy. But overall, it's a very nice area to live. I live with two hams, AC3F and WA3LQY, Pat and Tom.
Uh-huh.
They're very active. Pat, in fact, does CW training on Sunday nights with a net on
Yeah.
2 meter clicks. So very active in ham radio today, whereas prior to 2019, there was a big lapse in my activities thanks to no station, a lot of move arounds, a lot of history we won't go into. But overall, I obviously retained my ham license under the old call on WA5 RMM and was encouraged by meeting Pat and a group of hams at a Golden Corral, and they said, "Oh, you need to get your extra. Oh, it's no problem. Don't worry about the math, yada, yada, yada." So
Yeah.
in 2019, I took the test, and voila, the AC3EK.
I'm excited for you that you're in a situation now where you can get on the air all that you want
And in
and
fact,
have
I
some fun with
got
it.
on this morning. You'll notice a couple of photographs there where I took a photograph of a contact I made. The band conditions are still waffling, where the
Yeah.
K index is all over the map. But historically, the question is, why did I get into ham radio?
Yes, do tell.
And I learned late in life that my mother really was the encouraging force. She used to work for the Norton Bomb Sight Company back in World War II
Oh my goodness.
up in Waterbury, Connecticut, before I was born. She encouraged my interest in technology and electronics. And as early as the eighth grade, they bought me one of those Radio Shack 33 in 1 kits. And I played around with that, dabbled with that kit. She also bought me something that I don't remember what it was exactly. It wasn't a radio, it was some kind of detector, and maybe it was. Remember the 6AQ5? If you touched it, you would have to go to the hospital with a third-degree burn on your hand.
A little
But
warm, yeah.
yes, but anyway, this I was winding this coil, and I did a horrible job. I mean, you know, what do
I
I
know
make?
all my coils look horrible.
And my mother said, wait a minute, let me rewind that. She did such a beautiful job. I said, where'd you learn to do that? And then she disclosed that she worked for the Norton Bomb Sight Company.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, from that, I got my first Heath kit.
Shows your original station. I do have a question about the call sign. I always thought when you were a novice that the second letter would be an N, and here it's a V.
Yes,
Uh,
in the early 1960s, and this was specifically 1961, they used V. Yes, a WV. And the gentleman who gave me the test was a voluntary examiner. He lived in White Plains, New York, north of where I lived in Harrison, which is along the Boston Post Road, by the way.
yeah.
And he had a Collins S line. Talk about spoiled. But
Collins S line. They call those the gold dust twins, don't they?
he had the transmitter. I forgot the designation. The center control patch, which had the S meter and other controls, and then the receiver. And so from that, he generated the appropriate tone so I could take my 5 words per minute.
Wow.
And now, there's one error in that picture. If you look at the receiver and you look
Yeah.
at the QSL card, I
Yeah.
couldn't find a picture with the appropriate receiver. Notice in the QSL card, HQ100C, that picture is actually my early general station. The microphone is hidden over there in the corner. That's a HQ170. Talk about spoiled, the Vibraplex key is between the transmitter and the receiver, just for taking this photograph.
Oh,
And
the
by the way, this
Vibraplex.
was an
Yeah.
outstanding Polaroid camera that I had. My parents spoiled me. I was the only child, and I had an interest in photography, and I had an interest in radio.
Uh-huh.
And voila, I set that up. But moving along, obviously, I moved from you had only 1 year on your novice. In the back of the the DX60, you would plug in these square crystals that you could remove the cover if
Hmm.
necessary. And we learned early on if you put some lead on the crystal, you would lower the frequency,
Right.
or if you use talcum powder to kind of embrace it, you could raise the frequency.
Really?
So with that said, we moved on to taking my general in New York City. Myself and a friend named Mario, who also was going down for his general. We took the train, the New Haven Railroad, to New York City to the FCC building.
Yeah.
And the first time around, I didn't pass the 13 words per minute. I was just marginal. But later on, I did pass. And this station you see here in this picture was a subsequent development from 1962, when I received my general, to this picture taken in 1965.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the device sitting on top of the radio, which looks kind of homemade, which it is, was a
Yeah.
plate modulator. You
Huh.
know about the DX60, you use grounded grid modulation in AM.
Yeah.
And so, but this gentleman, another ham, made that. I bought it from him. We hooked it up to the DX60 and I obtained plate modulation. The Warrior linear amplifier, which you see, which is purchased around 1964. What a boat anchor that was to build.
Yeah.
Um, and in fact, I had come off a bout of mononucleosis, and my doctor said, "Don't lift anything heavy." All right. Well, that's 90 pounds.
Yes.
It had the swinging choke. It had, it was about the same size as the transformer. It used 866 rectifiers that you had to warm up for 20 minutes before you
Really.
could use them. And it had four 811 A's as far as the final.
So
Um,
that was a full kilowatt then.
it was a full kilowatt. I never ran it at a full kilowatt. Um, my antennas were one out in the back, one off the side, which was a high gain fan dipole. Worked
Mm-hmm.
very well, and that amplifier worked very well. But my father got upset with me occasionally because he's watching baseball and I'm keying down, and guess what's happening to the television?
Yes, yes. I had a similar problem right after I graduated from college. I had my novice station in my bedroom, and my mother made it very clear there was a program she wanted to listen to, and I was not to interfere with it.
Yes, so I know exactly what you mean. In fact, there was another funny story. I was on the air. I was running about, I don't know how much power, but I was running power. And I got a call from a Mrs. Bichelli. She was a couple of houses diagonal from us. And she says, "Harry," I can remember her voice, "are you on the air talking to somebody in Minnesota?" And whatever. And she said, and I said, "Yes." "Well, it's coming through my baby monitor." Well, first of all, I didn't even know baby monitors existed back then. Whatever it was, I was coming through. So suffice it to say, I had my experiences with RFI.
Yes. Well,
So,
everybody did back then, especially with the TVs and their very inexpensively built
right,
tuners.
right.
You get television interference. I think they called it Tennessee Valley Indians back in those days.
I went into the Air Force I actually went into medical equipment maintenance,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was involved with technology. In fact, in the shop there at Wilford Hall Hospital down in San Antonio, where I was assigned, we
Yep.
had a very high tech maintenance shop. I did EKG repairs and what have you. After that, I joined Hewlett Packard Medical and moved to Houston after getting out of the Air Force. And that was a phenomenal period in my life because you had every modern hospital. You had Dr. DeBakey doing open heart surgery. We had monitoring equipment in his suites. So kept up the technology. Eventually, I did set up a ham station of the equipment seen in the previous slide in my apartment. Not the linear though, for obvious reasons. This was before cable TV.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, did keep up some activity. Then there was a big lull. A lot of changes in my life. Won't go into it, but let's put it this way: the ham gear disappeared. I remarried, moved to Middletown, had a station, found a Apache at a ham fest for $10. Brought
Wow.
brought that tank home. My wife at the time was cursing as we were carrying it out to the car. It was missing the audio tubes.
Oh dear.
And it turned out that they used to use the round barrel audio connector, point and contact. Well, he used to use springs for insulation, and for some reason it was shorted. So I got that resolved. Now, where am I going to get the tubes? Well, I worked for Fluke at the Rockville office as a
Yeah.
salesman. And the guy, and I told this guy in the lab, "Do you have any of these tubes?" And he says, "Oh, yeah, here's a couple." So I got it on AM. Later on, I added an SB1 for sideband, and the rest is history. That ended another period of my life. Now we come up to the 2000s. And as I was living with a gentleman who we loved to go to the Golden Corral, and I met a bunch of hams. They introduced themselves. It was a group that met there every Wednesday,
Yeah.
encouraged me. And in 2019, I took the test after studying extensively. I found some great videos. There was this guy in North Carolina. It was almost classroom environment. And that's where we are today. That's the Yesu Haven. That's all their equipment. The
The
950.
950 is kind of a venerable radio, isn't it?
Well, they use that at field day on CW only. So
Mm-hmm.
it was used this past field day. That belongs to Tom. The 991 belongs to Pat. And then Tom bought the FDDX 10. And by the way, it's a good radio, but I do not like the band spectrum display.
Yeah.
It's too artificial looking.
Yeah.
It works well. I've done the PXK reporter
Yes.
software. I've made comparisons. Both this and the Icon are comparable as far as stations covered. The rotor is used for rotating the quad. We have a mini quad. It was made by a company in Canada and unfortunately no longer manufactured as far as the quad is concerned. It's one of those mini diamonds with passive hat
Right.
reflectors. Very, very good though. Get excellent coverage.
So
And
this is your rotator, the Yesu rotator.
right, in fact, Pat says, "Harry, you're really giving it exercise because when I look at my stations coming in on WSJTX and I see the azimuth, I rotate that antenna within a degree or two of where that station is located. So I'm always rotating that antenna. This is my little humble abode. By the way, this is at the dining room table, so I can conveniently eat, turn, and operate the rig. So right
Okay.
now it's in the position where you can see the audio display, at the spectrum. We're transmitting to 20 meters this morning. That is the grid tracker, which I like because you can definitely see what grids you've worked. It gives you statistics of how many stations you've worked over time. as well as you see a real-time graphic of PSK data. This in turn couples the information to my log, which is the AC log from N3FJP, an excellent log book.
Okay,
As
so
well as,
this connects to N3FJP then.
correct, correct.
Okay, good. Yes, I
And
use
it's
that
real
software
time.
too.
Yeah, it's very, very extensive. I mean, you can do, I did a presentation at our HamFest on this whole menage of WSJT, FT8, FT4, as well as the merits of using Grid Tracker.
Hmm.
So, uh, as far as my ham activities, it's almost daily, except when the thunderstorms, and we're really in the middle of thunderstorm activity right now. One thing that's missing from this is we do have a geochron hanging on
Oh,
the front wall of our living room. And so turned on in the morning, we can see what activity is going on, both as far as you select satellites, weather, data that comes in FT8 lines. Really enjoying our time. And I was showing this because this is my Heil. I know you have a Heil as well, and
I
it
do.
has the IC filter.
Okay, this is my Heil right here.
Yes.
It's the Heil Pro 7. Nice little thing. One of the things I like on it is this little switch where you can get it in phase or out of phase. I
Yeah.
actually enjoy the out of phase better. It makes the signal seem broader and easier to copy.
I do a lot of contests. In fact, on the contest committee as far as the ham. I always put out information about contests, and I enjoy doing CW contests, the sideband contests, and I'll tell you, despite the fact I'm only running 100 watts, I punch through. I've got compression set at 4, for example, modulation around 60%. People hear me right away.
What is the rig you're using for that?
The same one, the ICOM 7300.
7300, same one I have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my rig. The last ham contest I participated in was the IPX worldwide contest, and I finished 24th in our district
Oh,
with
very
over
good.
34,000 points.
Well, very good. That's
So
excellent.
I enjoy. I don't get into the building and what have you. Yes, I may have fallen into that quote appliance. And oh yeah, I did show this for a reason. We do use single point ground. That's a big braid. It's that there's a connection here going back and to the back of the LDG tuner. I do use that tuner religiously, and that switch on the top of the LDG is to
Hmm.
switch in my SDR radio when I want to just check to see what the bands are like without having to turn on the IC
What
7300.
what kind of SDR radio do you have?
This one
RSP1A.
RS1, yeah, A, uh,
Okay. Yeah, I've got that radio. That's from SDR Play.
right. And I do use SDR Uno. The follow-on software SDR Direct, I don't like too much. I like the old Uno. I look at all the bands. See what this activity is. 20 is open or 10 is open, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So getting back to the antenna, by the way, it also gets me 6. But for some reason, it doesn't work on 12. I have to use the vertical. The vertical works well on 12.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Diamond works well from 20 on up to 10. That means 6 with the exception of 12. And this was, I completed the contact with that N8, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so now this is call roster. Is that part of the grid square tracking software?
Yes, and what this allows you to do, the problem with WSJTX, that thing on the left-hand side, the activity scrolls constantly.
Yes.
Now the new version allows you to build filters. So, for example, recently there was a contest called 13 Colonies.
Uh-huh.
I participated in and got a clean sweep, all 13. Plus, there are 3 special stations, got
Right.
all those. And you can put filters to say, just show me the 13 colony stations
Oh, that's
by
interesting. Good.
listening those. But getting back to the call roster, you can discriminate and say, okay, I want just new calls. I just want CQs. I don't, and it will list what may be coming in at that time.
Okay. Yes. Oh, that's excellent. Now, is that a separate piece of software from the grid
Yes.
tracker?
Oh, no, no, it's part of Grid Tracker.
Part of grid tracker. Okay.
Right. If you go, The problem is, I just have a small screen. It's about 14 inches, so you're moving these little boxes around all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But it works. The detail of Grid Tracker is such that in that call, there was a blue little box over here under OAMS. You can send an optional and message to the gentleman in text. I find that I enjoy Grid Tracker to add enhancement to what I'm doing with this. And
Oh,
it's not like sitting and watching paint dry. It's like fly fishing, as I put in my presentation. You cast, get somebody, and you pay attention to what you're doing. So,
okay, very good. I just have a question for you. You've had a wonderful life with lots of electronics and so on in it. What do you say to young people about getting into ham radio?
what I say is get your science courses, stay focused on your math, get involved with some hams at clubs, engaged. You don't have to be a ham to join a club. We encourage people to come to our club, even
Hmm.
though they're not hams, and they will eventually take the test, like your assistants. And
Yeah,
good luck
right
getting it.
there.
Yes,
And
and
best of luck to
uh,
him this Saturday.
yeah, you find that following some of the young hams that we're starting to see come into our population is amazing. There
Yeah.
are hams. There's this one lady that operating one of the contests, and she's doing CW, and she's just banging away. And she's only, what, 15, 16. That's the type of encouragement. It's not a nerd kind of activity. It is an enjoyable activity. So,
Yes, it
uh,
is. Yes, it is. I've talked to some very enthusiastic young hams. Well, Harry, thank you for your time today. Do you have any last comments to make? Something we left out?
no, I think I've been blessed. I'm 78 years old and healthy. I have my health issues like everybody else at this age, but I'm under good regime and good diet, and I enjoy the activity. And I especially enjoyed this last field day, as you can tell from the photographs.
Yes.
So, with that said, I'll say 73s.
Okay.
Fellow Augie, AC3EK.
Yeah, all right. And 73 to you also. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, Harry. We'll talk to you again.
Thank you.
73.
73.